Joining us now, former New York Assistant Attorney General Adam Pollack and former Assistant District Attorney for the Manhattan DA's office and MSNBC legal analyst Catherine Christian. Okay, so redirect is beginning. Steinglass is back up there questioning Davidson. We'll get updates as they come in. But first, let's end where I just ended. This is what you brought up as we were coming to air, that this pseudonym, David Dennison, was used in the past. Does that matter?
It does matter, because if the prosecution is saying, we know this is Donald Trump, that was his pseudonym, well, it apparently was also Hulk Hogan's. So what this whole cross-examination, and we redirect, and then there'll probably be a recross, was to show that this witness is not very credible or not likable. And I'm surprised that the prosecution didn't bring up some of this witness's bad acts on their direct examination. Like, for instance, he was involved in a federal investigation involved with what he did with Hulk Hogan. That should have come up on direct examination, so the jury doesn't think, why didn't the prosecution bring that up? Why do I have to hear this across?
The prosecution has been pretty good at trying to bring up things that they believe are going to be problematic for them down the line. Why would we not hear about this?
It's a little bit surprising, but it comes in the context of an entire day, an entire week, an entire trial about unseemly actors, about something a little bit sleazy. So maybe they didn't mention this. There was plenty more to cover.
They're also asking right now, David Dennison Steinglass is the prosecution on the redirect about Michael Avenatti and the wedge between Stormy and her agent, Gina Rodriguez. Avenatti was trying to insert himself into things. There's so many names, there's so many characters, not all of them on the up and up. Michael Avenatti is currently in prison right now. He didn't do well by Stormy Daniels. How does all this, all these dirty players read? How would they read to a jury, maybe?
Well, it could be both ways. One, you could say, well, that's who Donald Trump associated with. The problem is Donald Trump did not have any direct contact with this witness. It was Cohen. Donald Trump had direct contact with Mr. Pecker, but what did Mr. Pecker say? That he dealt with Cohen when it came to the payoffs. So this is all about building reasonable doubt.
So one of the questions I still have is, what directly links Donald Trump to any of this? Because you have Michael Cohen on paperwork, you have Michael Cohen having phone calls, you have Michael Cohen in text message exchanges. It's a lot of Michael Cohen. There's not a whole lot of Donald Trump. The only direct Donald Trump conversations we've gotten so far have been from the very first witness, and that was David Pecker.
In the end, a lot of this is a sideshow, right? The key question is going to be when Trump directed those payments to be made to Michael Cohen, and when he directed records to be made, and if he directed records to be made, and if he directed false records to be made. There is likely going to be a witness from inside Trump Tower, inside the Trump organization, who's going to say, yes, Trump said, write them to Michael Cohen, but Trump knew, and here's how I knew. Trump knew that they were for something else. They
need that witness to say it as plainly as that?
And it can't be they knew. They have to know from personal knowledge. It can't be I assumed. I assume this, because that's what...
It has to be I saw this?
Because Davidson said, well, he didn't say I know for a fact that Donald Trump is the one who was going to be repaying the $130,000. He said, I assumed it was him or corporate affiliation. So you have to, it can't be speculation or assumption. Right now, it's Michael Cohen. And he's corroborated, yes, he took out the 130, and yes, so all of his acts are corroborated. But so far, we do have an audio tape of Trump and Michael Cohen speaking. But even on that audio tape, at the end, Michael Cohen says, no, I'll take care of it. So that's the reasonable doubt that the defense wants to build in.
And also that
the lawyers are not, this witness lawyer, he seems to be basically their defense, a shakedown artist. Yeah. They use the word extortion. I don't like to, because that's a crime, so I don't accuse anyone of extortion. But his answers, I don't recall multiple times, is the hallmark of a witness who's not very credible. I don't recall, because I don't want to answer it. So let's see how redirect is.
You just made a face a second ago. What was it about?
Look, I think there are a lot of fleas here. And the question's going to be, are the prosecution can be successful in showing that Donald Trump was with them, was one of these many fleas? If in the doubt, the defense is going to try to show that he was above all that. He didn't know what was happening, that Michael Cohen was off on a lark.
Fleas?
fleas, whether Trump was lying down with them.
Oh, got it.
Or slime balls.
I like that. All right, I hadn't heard that legal speak, legal jargon, legal color. Let me ask you about gag order stuff. And there was an interesting moment where the defense was trying to get Judge Merchan to approve posts that Donald Trump might put out there in the future. Is that normal? Does that normally happen?
That's not normal. And I think what Susan Nexus, who's a very good attorney, there probably was a conversation between her and her client, and she was saying, that violates the gag order. And so it's like, well, let's ask the judge. She knew. She's a very excellent lawyer, what the judge would say. If when in doubt, steer clear.